Alrighty, peeps. Today we are going back to conference. That's right, we're returning to conference to talk about Elder Cavalcante's address. Join the Journey Radio starts right now.
Welcome to the infusion of positive energy into the lives of single Latter-day Saints everywhere. This is Joy in the Journey Radio.
And welcome back, peeps, to another little splendiferous, joyous episode of Join the Journey Radio. I am Lance, your host for Join the Journey Radio, and this is episode number 376. The Wind Did Never Cease. If you're viewing this program live, please join the chat. Tell us where you're from. If you're viewing this program after the broadcast, so at a later date on one of our media channels, so we're looking at like YouTube or Rumble, please leave a comment down below. Let us know where you're from because that will help us with the algorithms. All right, so here we are. I'm just feeling good today. I'm just feeling good today. Oh, I remember that scene from Tommy Boy. You ever seen that classic Chris Farley's best work by far? I mean, he put out a lot of good stuff, especially like his, Saturday Night Live stuff, but Tommy Boy. I think in that one scene, I'm like Choo-Choo, the little Indian clown. Ah, yeah. I gotta get distracted here. All right, let's go back to conference. Oh, I'm feeling good today. You feeling positive, peeps? If you're not, just again, listen to my laughter. It'll give you the positive vibe. All right, so yeah, we're going back to conference, which is something we do about once a month. Go back to the last general conference and review one of the conference talks. But we're not just going over it like it's some sort of, extra helping of Sunday school. No, no, no. We're actually looking for specific ways to apply what's being said to help Latter-day Saint singles thrive in their single years. So let's dig in. I was impressed. I mean, impressed may not be the right word because we're talking about general conference, right? All the conference talks are impressive in their own way, but I felt something really, really particular with Elder Haroldo B. Cavalcante. I hope I'm saying that right. The wind did never cease to blow, and he, of course, is making reference to the Jaredite journey to America, and how it says in the book of Ether that that the wind did never cease to blow them towards the promised land. And I couldn't help but think about all the challenges that we have as Latter-day Saint singles. And, when you step back and actually recognize the Lord's hand, you'll see that the wind is never ceasing to blow our own ships toward promised harbor. So I thought this would be a good return visit to conference. So let's dig in. Elder Cavalcante starts off by talking about attorneys in Brazil who gave service to nursing home residents by interviewing them to discover crimes that had been committed against them. And then those attorneys went and filed charges against the perpetrators. Volunteers, showed up. They came and helped those in need, like the wind that blew the Jaredites toward the promised land. So let's dig in here and see where's cut one. See, one thing I don't like about this new platform is I load the video clips up and it doesn't put them into any order, just kind of randomly, puts them in the list. So I always have to kind of look to see where everything's at. Oh, here we go.
The Master of Masters caused a furious wind to blow the Jaredites towards promised blessings. Similarly, we can decide to serve as a humble gust of wind in the Lord's hands, just as the wind did never cease to blow the Jaredites towards the promised land. We can help others progress in their journey to receive God's blessings.
Yep. Can you really say anything more than that? I mean, that's pretty much, straightforward. Although I will say this, I always thought of the wind that did not cease to blow as the Lord's hand providing support, right? But, I once had a bishop who said that we are the Lord's hands. So we can be the wind that hoists the sails of others and pushes them onward towards eternal blessings. And this is what Elder Cavalcante gets to in his address. We can be the Lord's wind that pushes things along. Um, he goes in and talks about, shares a story of a counselor who served with him in a bishopric. And this good brother wore sunglasses, was essentially forgotten by other people in the ward. Just kind of sitting there all by himself. But, serving alongside others, this man completely transforms himself. And so, let's see, so Elder Cavalcante goes in and talks more about the transformation that came over this individual. Let's find cut two.
This beloved brother served at my side until my release as bishop. Today, he continues to serve faithfully in the church and is an example of dedication and commitment to the Lord Jesus Christ. And yet, years ago, he was an unknown sunglass wearer, sitting essentially forgotten in the pews of the chapel. I often wonder how many faithful brothers and sisters sit forgotten among us today.
That's a fantastic question. And, we could apply that very easily to Latter-day Saint singles because I can't help but think about how many singles of the church are faithful and yet they sit in our church meetings alone and feeling very forgotten. How many of us are actually, being that Lord's wind to bring them in and collect them in and help them to feel that they belong to a community larger than themselves? Um, you know, I, I think we could also extend this over to the dating arena. How many of us judge others too prematurely? I think about not really. I mean, it has applicability today. It's not dating because I'm going to talk about a former roommate that I had, and it had nothing to do with dating. But I do remember, like, one year. I mean, it's often the case, right? It's like you got roommates in college, and um, for us brethren at least, roommates come and go, right? Because you've got people who are leaving to go on a mission, people are coming back from a mission, people who are getting married. So there's always this constant turnover, and so there's always some kind of mix that needs to happen almost every semester. So one particular semester, that's a situation. We're looking to move into someplace else and getting things together. So needed a new roommate to make the math work as far as the finances. And I can remember, being approached by this guy in the Institute building. Just, I was walking one day down the hall, he was walking the other way, and he's like, "Hey man, I was looking for you. I hear you looking for a roommate." And I'm like, "Yeah, we got like, it's me and this one other guy. We really need a third guy to, help us out." And so he was like, "Yeah, I'm looking for a place to stay. Let's hook up." And at first I was a little bit hesitant, right? Because I mean, we're talking about your living situation here. So you want to be able to click really well with the people that you live with, because that just makes for a better quality of life. And this guy didn't really seem to have much in common with me. I mean, here I am. Scrawnier. I was scrawnier then than I am now. Kind of bookish and um, just not really into the whole athletic thing. And this guy looked like, you know, a football player. In fact, he did play football when he was in high school, so he had that sort of, jock mentality. And um, I didn't really think that we would actually mesh very well. But, I needed the roommate and he seemed like a decent guy. So, I said, hey, sign you up. I cannot begin to express how well we actually meshed together, right? It's like if I would have gone off first impressions, I would have missed, the opportunity to make one of the best friends that I've had in my life. And, we of course, all graduated and moved on with their lives. And, I still reach out to him every so often and keep in touch that way, but he turned out to be a really cool cat. And I'm thinking to myself, how many of us Latter Saint singles judge too much by first impressions? We judge people. We don't give people time to show us who they really are. And if we were to just take that time, we could find opportunities that at first it doesn't seem like an opportunity, but as we dig into it and actually give it a chance, we find that there's an opportunity here for something far greater than we ever imagined. And I think in our interactions with people, we need to just open up and just, be more of that. Not just in dating, but and also in just having friends. There's nothing that says that everyone you talk to has to be a potential, you know, uh, dating partner or marriage companion. Why can't we just, enjoy friendship with people just for the sake of being friends and having joy in that state? But we don't do that. We talk disparagingly about friendship. It's like, you've been relegated to the friend zone as though it's some sort of dreaded dungeon to be in. We're thinking about this all wrong, peeps, and we need to just kind of flip back and reverse things here, right? So, going back to Elder Cavalcante's address, how many of us singles of the church are faithful and yet we sit alone in church meetings? We sit alone and isolated, and not just at church meetings, but also at activities. I can't help but remember, like, there are many conferences I've been to. There's always people that are sitting by themselves, always. And what are we doing to reach out and help those people? Are we doing anything? We are the Lord's wind, and these are the sails that need to be blown. So, let's get out there and blow them, right? Um, Elder Cavalcante continues his address talking about trials. Let's see if we can get, where's cut three?
Whether we are well known or forgotten, trials will inevitably come to each one of us. As we turn to the Savior, He can consecrate our afflictions for our gain and help us respond to our trials in a way that facilitates our spiritual progression. Whether for nursing home residents, a misjudged church member, or anyone else, we can be the wind that did never cease to blow, bringing hope and guide others to the covenant path.
So, again, we are the Lord's wind. We're the wind the Lord causes to blow so that the ship of others can be blown towards the port where the blessings the Lord wants them to receive are awaiting them. So the question I have is this: how are we blowing? How are we blowing? How are we, what impetus are you providing to others to, improve their lives and help resolve their pain and help them along in the road of life? That this is where a personal ministry comes into play. This is something we've talked about time and time again on the program. It's a recurring theme because, I really think that a lot of the ways that we thrive as Latter-day Saint singles are connected with having a personal ministry. There's a lot of joy that we're leaving on the table if we don't have a personal ministry. Now, what is a personal ministry? For those who aren't familiar with the program, let me just catch you up to speed here. So, a personal ministry is essentially an area of contribution that is uniquely yours that you basically focus on. So, um, it's the way you put your dent in the universe. It's the legacy that you leave behind after you for the generations that come after you. Um, Elder Cavalcante, at this point in his address, he starts segueing into young people serving full-time missions. And, I know most Latter-day Saint singles are past that point in their life. Many of them have already served in that capacity. But, all Latter-day Saint singles, regardless of age or how it is that they're single, they can and should adopt a personal ministry. Find some form of contribution that lights you up and focus your attention there. One of my favorite quotes from Will Smith is this: if you aren't making people's lives better, then you're wasting your time. Don't waste your time. So many of us are just twiddling around, finding ways to spend the time, to pass the time, when we really should be focused on, how can I take my unique talents? Because we've all been given talents from the Lord. How can we take the talents that I have, and look, examine your patriarchal blessing and figure out, what is the unique contribution the Lord wants me to be making into the lives of others? Because the talents that you have, they're not given to you for you. They're given to you so that you can help other people in a certain way. They're given to you so you can make a unique contribution that improves the lives of other people's, that resolves pain in other people's lives, that lets you be the Lord's wind. So then take those talents that you have, adopt a personal ministry, focus your attention there on fulfilling that contribution that is uniquely yours, that only you can make, and be the Lord's wind and help others move into the harbor where the blessings of the Lord are waiting for them. So Elder Cavalcante, he goes in and talks about, this in the sense of missionary work. Like you young people should go out and serve missions because you can be the Lord's wind to help other people, blow their ships into safe harbor. Um, and that's totally true. And I think what he says has direct application to Latter-day Saint singles when Latter-day Saint singles adopt a personal ministry. Um, Elder Cavalcante, in talking to the young prospective missionaries, he acknowledged that they may feel unfit or even forgotten, but the Lord qualifies those whom he calls, and he will always remember those for whom he died. I think likewise the Lord will qualify us, Latter-day Saint singles, as we adopt and engage in our own personal ministries, and he will likewise remember us, LDS singles, when times get hard. Elder Cavalcante closes his address with this thought. Let's see if I can find clip 4.
Though some may wait a long time for relief, for they have no man that can yet help, the Lord Jesus Christ hath taught us that no one is ever forgotten by him. On the contrary, he was a perfect example of seeking out the one in every moment of his mortal ministry. Each of us and those around us face our own storms of opposition and waves of trials that submerge us daily, but the wind will not cease to blow towards the promised land, and thus we shall be driven forth before the wind. Each of us can be a part of this wind, the same wind that blessed the Jaredites in their journey, in the same wind that with our help will bless the unrecognized and forgotten to reach their own promised land.
I don't know how, what better note to end the program on, right? It's like, we are the Lord's wind. We're the Lord's wind. So, be the wind that can blow others safely into harbor. And I'm speaking specifically of Latter-day Saint singles coming together and helping other Latter-day Saint singles. So much of the difficulties that we face in our lives are connected with the fact that we're disjointed, in the sense that we don't really have a sense of belonging to a larger community. Part of what I'm doing here on Join the Journey Radio is providing a basis or a foundation for lots of us to come together and form that community, that basis. Because let's just speak quite frankly, right? A lot of us could be getting this from our local wards and stakes. We should be getting it from our local stakes, and yet many of us are not, because stake leadership does not have the vision of building a community. Their vision is simply, well, we'll just, call a couple of stake reps and they'll form this committee, and then we'll just leave them alone to plan activities. And typically what happens is, whatever activities get planned and whoever shows up, and people are nice and sociable to each other, but there's no sense of togetherness. There's no real sense of community. And that sense of community is what many of us singles need to get through the hard times that come with being single. And quite frankly, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I just don't see local leaders adopting the more effective vision for ministering to singles in the near term. So here I am. I'm putting on Join the Journey Radio, and I'm inviting all Latter-day Saint singles, right? And let's not put people into boxes. Like we tend to put people into boxes, right? You YSA or single adult, which it's like they don't want to call us old, but by calling the other group young, they're in fact calling us old. And many of us feel pretty darn young. So it's kind of a misnomer there. But I mean, even within, that group, you've got, the mid singles, and, then you've got the seniors, and then you've got the people that are kind of lost in the middle. They're older than mid singles, but they're not yet seniors. And so, we put people into these generational boxes because we're taking something that's given to us by our American culture and applying it to our interactions with each other as Latter-day Saint singles. And we just got to get rid of that. We need to just get rid of that. God does not view us through generational lenses. So why are we looking through each other through generational lenses? Let's come together. Let's come together and just enjoy the friendship and the support that we can all offer to one another, regardless of age. And, let's come together and form the community that's needed. And it's all on you. It's all on you, because I'm providing the foundation for it right here on Join the Journey Radio. But it only works if you come together and come and participate and be a part of what's being built here, right now. So I invite you, right? You're sitting here watching this. I'm inviting you to participate. Come join the live broadcast, participate in the chat, come and, make comments on the videos, share the videos, like the videos, help us to, take the algorithms to push our content out to more Latter-day Saint singles so that more people can be helped, so that more pain gets resolved, so that we come together and build the community that should be existing in our local wards and stakes, but quite frankly isn't. It's time for us to quit whining and pining about what isn't, and actually start building what it is that we need to basically make sure that our needs are met. So I'm inviting you, come and be a part of this movement, and let's be the Lord's wind for each other. Let each one of us be the Lord's wind for each other that never ceases to blow towards the promised land. Well, peeps, that's all I have for this episode of Join the Journey Radio. Don't see anybody in the chat, so again, please come. This is only as good as you make it, and your life is only going to be as good as what you put into it. So put something into it. Come join us. Join the Journey Radio. You'll go to our website and find the schedule. It's there on the live broadcast page, I think is what it's called. And come join us. It's totally free. It doesn't cost you anything except your time. Um, but yeah, so thanks to all who are joining in, although some some of you are joining in after the fact, but hey, you're welcome too. We're glad to have you. So if there's something you'd like to say about what we discussed today, leave a comment down below. If you have a topic or a question that you'd like to see us address, then we're happy to help. Just leave a comment down below. If there's something we can do to help you overcome the challenges of LDS singles life, yep, you got it. Leave a comment down below. So the other way you could go for is to go to our website, jointhejrradio.com, and there on the contact page, there's a form where you can send us a message, and so that's another way to get a hold of us. So whatever way works for you, we're flexible. We can work with it. So and as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share our content that you find helpful so that other Latter-day Saints can be helped. The algorithms, help the algorithms push our stuff out to help more and more people. And until next time, this is your host reminding you there is joy to be had all along your journey. So take that joy, journey on.